Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kristie, and today is our nerdiest episode ever. Let's jump into the first story.
Am I the asshole for not wanting to get rid of the anime body pillow that saved my marriage?
How did it save your marriage? Oh my goodness, I need to hear more.
My husband and I are best friends during the day. Love of my life. It's at night that's an issue. I'm a blanket stealer. I once yanked them so hard, poor hubby flipped a full 180. Hubby, for his part, is a thrasher. Bruce Lee would be jealous of the moves he pulls off while unconscious. It is a constant war between us when we fall asleep, and both of us often wake up sore and exhausted.
Sounds like they are not compatible sleepers.
No, and it's not even like our bedroom where it's just one of them stealing the blanket.
You?
You?
No, it's you.
You steal the blanket constantly.
No, because you have stolen all of the blanket, so I need to steal back a small scrap for myself.
It was starting to affect our relationship. Neither of us wanted to move to a separate bed because we liked spending our nights together, but it seems like an inevitability. We were both crabby every morning, and we started fighting as soon as we got up. It sucked. But neither of us wanted to concede defeat and move to the other bed. Quick background, I was a huge nerd as a teenager. Full-on otaku. Go ahead, cringe, I do. One night as a joke, I brought down an old anime body pillow from the attic. I know, the cringe. And plopped it down between my husband and I, declaring it our demilitarized zone. Hubby also thought it was hilarious. We named her DMZ-chan. She stayed there the whole night. It was a game changer. DMZ-chan protected me from hubby's REM-induced rampages, and she's just heavy enough that I can't yank the blankets at full speed. DMZ-chan is now a beloved part of our nightly routine. We both thought it was the funniest thing, but she legitimately helped us solve the only real issue in our marriage.
I mean, it's great that they found a solution. It's kind of funny that she brought it out jokingly and it's actually helping. But I mean, sleep is very important. I don't think I would have put up with this poor quality of sleep for as long as they did. I would have been out of there. I'd be like, I love you, but I'm going to the guest room. I need my sleep. I need it.
But who goes to the guest room? I feel like that was part of their issue, is that neither of them wanted to concede and be the person to go to the guest room.
That's also a good point. I don't know.
I bet the mattress in there is not as good.
Yeah, you're probably right, but you just need to upgrade the mattress so you both have a good mattress to sleep on.
There is also like a degree of it being kind of depressing that you have to switch to sleeping on a pair of twin mattresses.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem like the greatest for a marriage, but I mean, getting no sleep at all is not great for a marriage either.
No, that's probably worse. One day, mother-in-law stopped by to pick something up. She got up to use the restroom, passed by our open bedroom door, and you can guess what she saw.
An anime body pillow. Scandalous. What are you guys doing with that in your bedroom? In your bed. In your marriage bed.
I can't remember if she says what the character is on here, but some of them are very scandalous. You can guess what she saw. DMZ-chan propped up in the middle of our bed, her giant soulful anime eyes looking right back at mother-in-law. When she got back, she quickly grabbed her stuff and left. Hubby and I were both confused.
Mother-in-law thinks she saw a little bit too much and got some insight into your kinks, and she doesn't like that. That makes her uncomfortable.
She later mentioned DMZ-chan to hubby when they were on the phone, and it absolutely mortified him. As far as I know, mother-in-law now thinks we're deviants in a three-way relationship with a body pillow.
That's hilarious.
Hubby was too embarrassed to explain, and now he wants to put DMZ-chan back in the attic.
What? You let your mom think that instead of correcting her and being like, no, it's just we need something between us because I flail in my sleep. I feel like that's way less embarrassing than letting your mom think you're in a threesome with a body pillow.
I feel like you're right, and just confess that it was the only body pillow in your house.
I mean, I don't know if mother is going to believe her son when he tells her that he's not in a three-way with this pillow, but I mean, you gotta at least try and explain what's really going on.
I was upset. I told him I didn't want to go back to boxing each other at night, and that DMZ-chan helped us so much in that. He agreed, but suggested we get a normal plain body pillowcase to replace her. I felt like there was no need to spend money on something we already have, and if it really was that big of an issue, we can put her in the closet while we have company over. Hubby is firm in that she has to go permanently. I know he's embarrassed, but I feel we shouldn't have to compromise our inside jokes to appease other people. Am I the asshole?
I feel like you're not the asshole for using the body pillow, but you are the asshole for once your husband says it's making him uncomfortable. He doesn't like that people are seeing it. Refusing to get a new plain body pillow. It's such an easy fix. Just go buy a new plain one. Nobody's uncomfortable anymore. Nobody's embarrassed. It's an easy fix. They're not that expensive.
Do you think hubby is just now confessing that he doesn't like that DMZ-chan is staring at him while he's trying to sleep with her large, soulless eyes?
Oh, that would be slightly disconcerting. I'm not sure I would like that. But, I mean, it did seem like he was okay with it until Mom called him out on it. And then he's like, you're right, that is embarrassing. I do not want anyone to think I'm in a three-way with a sex doll. So,
Yeah, that's true. He is having the level of cringe that OP has gotten used to over the however many years since her teenage era. Mm-hmm. By her own confession, there's a lot of cringe associated with that pillow.
Yeah, now she just thinks it's a funny inside joke. But you know what? Sometimes it is okay to let inside jokes go.
Top comment, not the asshole. The real problem isn't about removing the pillow, but the fact that your mother-in-law made a scene about something that isn't any of her business. Your husband should stop enabling that.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I know it isn't her business, but you left it out in the open and she thought you had some weird kinks going on and it made her uncomfortable. And I can get that. Like, please, I know we're in your home, but I'm coming over. Please hide all of your kink stuff before I get there. I don't need to know about it. And now that I do know about it, I don't like it.
What other toys is OP hiding? This is just the tip of the iceberg as far as mother-in-law knows.
Maybe I'm a little bit of a prude, but I think that stuff should stay private. And especially not your family and your mother.
But that could have very easily been solved by husband actually explaining that it's just a pillow.
Oh, yeah, your husband's also an asshole. Oh my gosh, just tell her. I don't think she's going to believe you because it sounds like a made-up excuse. But I feel like just getting a new body pillow is such an easy fix for this. It's not going to damage your marriage because you still have that body pillow in between you to stop the nightly not fun wrestling.
There's actually another comment that gives more info on that subject.
Okay.
NTA, I've always been told that anime body pillows are heavier and thicker than normal body pillows. Wouldn't the weight of the pillow be a big factor in the decision? If the weight and thickness isn't there, it won't do any good. You'll still be able to pull the blanket, and he'll still be able to go all sleep battle, and you'll still feel it. OP replied, DMZ-chan is dummy thick.
Oh, okay. So it is a big, dense body pillow.
Which is why I feel like it would be a waste to get a regular body pillow, but I'm thinking of just giving in and getting a plain cover to make hubby happy.
Yeah, I was like, you don't need to get a whole new body pillow in that case. What you need to do is get like a custom sized pillowcase and just put that over your current body pillow.
Yeah, and somebody else has a good point in response to that.
Uh-huh.
Girl, you've had this pillow since high school, and it was kept for presumably many years in an attic. You didn't give your age, but one can guess this pillow is anywhere from 5 to 15 years old. Get a new pillow. Unless you've regularly been washing it, this thing is filled to the brim with dust mites. And years in an attic mean it's probably disgusting. You can get a body pillow for less than $50. Your mother-in-law and your husband are a separate issue, and I can understand your frustration there. But you're an adult woman, have some self-respect, and keep your home clean.
That is also a good point. It is full of dust mite and dust mite corpses and dust mite poop.
Which might be why she's so heavy.
Yeah, pillows do gain weight over time.
Right.
From dust mite remains.
Corpses. So maybe that's why she's so dummy thick.
Now, you could put your body pillow in the freezer for 2 weeks, and that would kill all of the current dust mites in there. And then if you wash it, that would hopefully remove some of the dust mite corpses and feces. But it's still, at some point, it's maybe better just to get a new pillow.
Oh, and for those wondering, the character on the body pillow is Saber from Fate Stay Night.
Do we have a picture of what that looks like? Okay, at least she is, in that picture at least, she is not that scantily clad.
In this picture, Kristie.
In this picture? Okay. Because I do feel like a scantily clad anime character body pillow seems much worse to an outsider looking out in your bedroom and seeing it than a less scantily clad one.
I mean, that is true, and I can get being a bit defensive about your old hobbies, but it really feels like OP might be just a little bit stubborn on this issue. And also husband really should have explained to mother-in-law. There's a lot of blame to go around here.
But I do feel like getting a plain body pillow or a plain cover for your current body pillow would just make your husband more comfortable. And why wouldn't we do that for someone we love?
And then OP has a quick edit. Sweet bees, this blew up. Was not expecting all the attention. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone for chiming in. I admit, I was being stubborn. I drove over to Target on my lunch break and bought a new cover for $10. I put it on DMZ-chan as soon as I got home. To those asking, I did wash her after fishing her out of the attic. And am now waiting on hubby to get home so I can apologize for making him uncomfortable. DMZ-chan shall live on in our hearts. And under the blanket when company's over.
I always like it when OP takes what people are saying in the comments to heart and doesn't just double down. So I'm really happy with this outcome.
Yeah, it sounds like a compromise was reached, and they maintained the important goal of getting the pillow in the first place, which is being able to sleep in the same bed.
Am I the asshole for making my neighbors think I'm in a cult?
I want to know what OP is up to, because you might very well be the asshole if you're being too crazy in your house. I know it's your house, but there's limits.
I, 24 male, am a huge fan of board games, particularly Dungeons and Dragons. Why are you crinkling while I'm reading?
This is our nerdiest episode ever. I thought we needed a gimmick.
Are you opening Pokemon cards on camera?
Yeah. Just keep reading. Don't ignore me.
No, you're loud.
I'll cut out my audio. Stop giving me a look like I'm stupid. This is gonna go great with like 5% of our audience.
I don't remember where I left off, Josh. I, 24 male, am a huge fan of board games, particularly Dungeons and Dragons. I host weekly D&D sessions at my apartment with a group of friends, and it's been our tradition for the last 5 years. We get into it. We dress up, light candles, chant dramatic incantations, we play some ambient music. I know it's more than the regular player, but we like it and we find it funny.
I mean, I get going all in. This is an extreme all in, but I guess as long as you're having fun.
Recently, my neighbors, an older couple in their 60s, moved in next door. They're nice enough, but pretty old school. Anyway, they've been giving me these weird looks lately and avoiding me in the hallway, which I thought was odd. But I figured maybe they just aren't into socializing. Well, last Saturday, during one of our sessions, we got really into it. My friend Dave, 23 male, was doing an epic monologue as the evil sorcerer we were about to defeat. And I may have been waving around a fake sword while wearing a hooded cloak. I was cosplaying my rogue character.
Sorry, OP lives in an apartment, right?
Yes.
I get it's your space. It sounds like they're shouting and chanting, and back when we lived in an apartment, you could hear everything through the vents.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like apartment activities, does it?
I mean, you should be able to play Dungeons and Dragons in an apartment. It just sounds like they're very rowdy about Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, this is a bunch of like early 20s guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they're having fun. It sounds like they are going way into it. I'm just saying, I feel like living next to them would be an experience.
We were deep in the moment when I heard a knock on the door. I opened it, still in costume, and was greeted by my very concerned-looking neighbors. Before I could say anything, the wife blurted out, "We've seen the people coming and going, the chanting, the cloaks, the swords. We just wanted to make sure everything is okay."
Okay.
I was caught off guard, and without thinking, I blurted out, "Oh, we're just summoning demons, nothing to worry about." And then I laughed, because obviously I was joking.
What the hell kind of response is that, OP?
They did not laugh. In fact, they looked even more horrified. They just mumbled something about being good Christians and backed away slowly.
Did OP at least put the sword down before they answered the door?
Probably not.
I don't know how I would feel if I knocked on a neighbor's door out of concern and they answer with a weapon.
I would be backing off very quickly, which is what these people did.
Right. Maybe make the sign of a cross because this person is dressed in cult robes and holding a weapon. Potentially holding a weapon.
Fast forward to the next morning, and I find a pamphlet slipped under my door for a cult deprogramming service. They even included a handwritten note offering to introduce me to their pastor to save my soul.
Sorry. I mean, I know that the old couple is sticking their nose in OP's business here. It's just, it sounds like OP was going so over the top, they only have themselves to blame for this.
Now, my friends think this is hilarious and keep suggesting we lean into it, like start wearing robes to take out the trash or chant in the hallways. I'm honestly tempted to mess with them a bit, but I'm also kind of worried I've legitimately freaked them out. Am I the asshole for accidentally making my neighbors think I'm a cult leader? And should I clear things up or just let them believe it?
Okay, well, first off, your neighbors don't think you're a cult leader. I don't think you give a cult deprogramming pamphlet to a cult leader.
Oh, that is a good point.
They think you're just inviting the cult over for afternoon sessions. Don't get full of yourself, OP. Secondly, I don't know. I don't think you're really the asshole here. You might be a little loud. But other than that, I think you're okay. Your friends are probably just walking into your apartment in costume, and if you had given the couple a normal response and been like, oh, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, sorry, were we too loud? Instead of saying, we're summoning demons.
I know, that was a little... They're not going to realize that's a joke, right? You legitimately look like you might be summoning demons.
I have lived in many apartments in my life, and I would not at all be surprised if at least one person in every single one of those buildings was actively trying to summon demons at one point. I went to college, okay?
There's weird stuff going on in a college town apartments.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was just a club at our college that was all about trying to summon entities from other planes.
And, it's mostly a joke, but there's some people in there who really think it.
Oh, there absolutely are. And I don't know. You're a little bit of an asshole for your weird response, but it's so minor. I don't even know if... Do you think the old couple is even an asshole here? I mean, I know they're sticking their nose in their business and, trying to push good Christian values on the hellspawn they're living next to. It's just his response was so damn weird.
Yeah, I don't like when people try and, push religion on, other people, their neighbors and stuff, but he might have had it coming a little bit.
Just a little bit, OP. I don't think you're the asshole. And just because of the way you answered the door, I'm not sure they're the asshole either. It was a weird situation that you caused.
Now, would they be the asshole if they lean into it and make the neighbors really think they're in a cult?
Probably.
I agree with that. I think that takes it into definitely asshole behavior for me.
Yeah, it's funny that you spooked your neighbors and they think you're in a cult. Maybe you should knock on their door and be like, hey, sorry, I made a joke and it really didn't land. We're just playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, they still might think you're in a cult. Like the 80s D&D scare thing, that was on Stranger Things and they talked about it. But yeah, a lot of people thought D&D was like a cult and demonic.
Yeah, they did. And at that point, the old couple becomes the assholes in this story. I think for right now, you just scared them. And I really hope you didn't answer the door with the sword. I'm assuming you did, but I really hope you didn't.
Top comment. This is hilarious and uncannily timed. I'm a landlord and recently had a call from an older couple who lives next to a young pair of male roommates. They were telling us about weird chanting and other activities they were concerned about. It wasn't during quiet hours and not enough of a disruption for us to look into.
I'm sorry. Is this just OP's landlord commenting?
Comment continues. I'm pretty sure you aren't our tenants because there's no hallway and the older folks aren't Christian, but still weird to read about. Also, NTA unless you are keeping them up late at night. OP replies, all of our games are usually finished around 7:30. Latest we go is until 9. Our DM Dave has 3 kids at home, so he can't waste all his time playing nerdy games with his friends.
That's exactly like the demographic I expect a D&D group of this to actually be. They get super into it, but they gotta be done by 7 because the DM has to get home to the kids. They're probably the nicest possible neighbors you could have. They just, get really excited about rolling dice.
Someone else says, OP here working to bring back the D&D 1980s satanic panic all on his own.
That's it. I knew it had a rhyme, but I couldn't remember.
Another comment. I get the it would be funny aspect of leaning into it, especially for your friends who don't live there. But it's always a good idea to keep things friendly with your neighbors if you can. That's not a moral judgment. It's just an investment in making your own life better, easier, and more pleasant. So far, there are no assholes, but I would suggest having a word with the neighbors, thanking them for their concern, reassuring them that everything is actually fine, and explaining it's just a game, not a cult.
I really think that just talking to your neighbors and maintaining good relationship with your neighbors, there's no downside to that. And I don't think anyone's the asshole here unless anyone takes it further. Right now, it's just a misunderstanding. And I agree with all of your friends, it would be hilarious, but it would also be asshole behavior.
And Reddit pretty much agrees. They think this is really funny, but you would be the asshole if you let it continue.
Hey, if you're enjoying this nerdy content so far, consider hitting that subscribe button.
We really appreciate your support, and it lets us know to keep making fun videos for you guys.
Am I the asshole for not letting my boyfriend use my credit card to buy his Comic-Con pass?
I mean, it's your credit card unless you agreed to pay for it for your boyfriend. No, make him pay for it himself.
By the way, before I get into the story, I assumed that you would be jealous that I had Pokemon card packs to open and you didn't.
Oh.
So there's some in that drawer for you if you want to do it too.
Ooh!
Yes. I also got you a Disney one.
Ooh. It's got Stitch on it!
Yeah, it's a different game that has Disney characters. I just thought you'd like it because it had Stitch.
I do like it because it has Stitch. He's my favorite.
I, 24 female, have been with my boyfriend, 25 male, for 2 years. When we started dating, he only had 2 in-car sessions left before he could take his driving test. He was also waiting to get a corporate job before getting a credit card. But, after finding out I had a credit card and a driver's license, he just stopped trying to get either. Even after getting a good corporate job, he only uses his debit card, occasionally borrows his mom's credit card, or asks to use mine. I say no 90% of the time unless it's urgent. I'm also the only one who's driven us to dates or events for the past 2 years.
Okay, I feel like in this day and age, you cannot get by without a credit card, like as an adult. You need one just to like pay the bills and stuff.
And to get some basic points on your credit score?
Yeah, that's also very important. You do want to build up your credit score so that when you go to buy a house or a car or anything, you know, it's not a terrible difficulty.
I mean, I guess he doesn't have his driver's license either, so he's not going to get a car.
And that's also, in this day and age, in most parts of America at least, I feel like you cannot survive and get along as an adult without having a driver's license.
Yeah, because they obviously live in a town where driving is an asset because OP has a car.
Yeah, and OP is driving them everywhere? That would make me grumpy.
I brought up how important it is to build credit or get his license, and he always gets defensive and says I'm nagging or being controlling. He insists they're not priorities right now, and he'll get to them when he feels it's time.
No, it is a priority. Get to it now. Now is the time. You're 25. It is past time.
Last month, Comic-Con took place in our city. We talked about going because an actor we love was attending. I bought my pass early because he still wasn't 100% sure about going. A few days before the event, while I was out of town, he texted me asking to use my credit card to buy his pass. I was so done at this point and told him no. Then put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
I get it. I'm with her.
Later that night, I saw that he spammed my phone, saying that it was the last day to buy online and now he'd have to get in line at the venue. I reminded him, again, that this could have been avoided if he had his own credit card. He didn't say anything after. On the day of the con, there were way more people than expected. He waited in line for 2 hours, but gave up and called me while I was buying merch, so we could at least have lunch and say goodbye. After lunch, I dropped him at the subway and went back to enjoy the con with friends.
She is way nicer than I am. I would have been like, I'm not driving you to the subway to get home. You can figure out how to get there on your own. I bought my ticket and I'm going to use every minute of it.
Waiting in line for 2 hours. How brutal is that line?
I don't know. And then he gave up. He still was like, there's no end in sight. I'm giving up.
Right? Like, how much more line was in front of him that he didn't have, like, sunk cost fallacy at this point?
Right? Because 2 hours is a lot of time to spend there and then be like, I'm done. I'm giving up. But also, like, at what point is it not worth buying the ticket because you've wasted so much of the day spending in line instead of in the con?
Yeah, I don't really know how late Comic-Con goes. I called him when I got home to ask about his day. When he asked about mine, I told him about the con. He asked, wait, you still went? I said, of course, I bought a pass. He then blew up, saying it was my fault he didn't go, that I was selfish for not lending him my card, and that if I really loved him, I would have ditched the con to be with him, or at least driven him home. I told him he was being stupid AF, and I deserved to go since I paid. He hung up. We spoke the next morning and apologized to each other, but a month later, he still occasionally brings up how upset he was that day.
What did he think she was doing? She dropped him off at the subway and then did not stay with him. Did he not realize she was going back to the con? What did he think she was doing?
I don't know. Maybe he thought she would just drive home.
No! Con tickets are expensive. I'm spending every minute there that I want to.
Part of me wonders if I could have avoided the drama by just letting him use my card. But another part is just so done. Am I the asshole for not just lending him my card?
Definitely not the asshole, but when he blamed you for ruining his day, you really needed to throw it back at him that he was the one who sabotaged his own day. If he had a credit card, none of this would happen. He needs to grow up and get a credit card and be a responsible adult.
I mean, he does have like a corporate job, so there's no reason why the bank would deny him a credit card, I assume.
No, he's just lazy and doesn't want to go set one up.
When I turned 18, I could not get people to stop offering me credit cards.
Yeah, right?
So they're not at all hard to get. You go to the grocery store and they're like, do you want a credit card? No. Stop offering me credit cards, people. I got one. I'm happy with one.
But I feel like this was really the time to drive home the lesson, and she did not. So I'm a little disappointed in her for that, but I'm not at all disappointed in her for, like, finally standing up and being like, no, you may not use my credit card.
I don't know. How would she have driven home the lesson any farther? Like, he missed the con, and she went to the con.
And he is still blaming her for that. Every time he brings it up, you need to be like, this is your own damn fault. Grow up and get a credit card. I'm really mad at this guy. Like, I was excited to get my first credit card. I didn't go crazy like a lot of people did and like spend everything because it's free money. No, I like knew it was not free money. And like, I paid it off like every week. I was like, I spent this much money. I will pay it off immediately. So I had great credit.
See, I was the opposite way, and I was not mature enough for that credit card yet. And I had slightly below average credit when we got married. You were carrying the team for a while there.
And I was also super excited to get my driver's license. What is wrong with this person? He just doesn't want to be an adult, but then he has a corporate job. That's obviously adulting. So why is he having trouble with some aspects of adulting and not other aspects?
I mean, they do live in a city big enough to host Comic-Con.
And subways. They have subways. She dropped him off at the subway. So maybe he's getting by on like, public transportation.
Yeah, if you got subways in your city, you can probably get by without a driver's license. But it does sound like it's important to his girlfriend that he gets a driver's license. That should be a decent amount of motivation right there. Top comment, not the asshole. Why are you with this guy? He sounds exhausting.
He does. That's what I'm getting so mad.
Somebody replied, she's his replacement mommy, driving him around and buying him shit.
She really is. He is using her for her driver's license and credit card. I do not like it.
Why couldn't he use mom's credit card? Maybe mom is sick of it too.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, because he's blowing up her phone being like, give me your credit card. I need to buy tickets. Why didn't he ask his mom?
I don't know. Maybe mom doesn't like him using the credit card outside of actual important things, and Comic-Con isn't important.
That is true.
I wonder why his debit card couldn't be used on the website.
I don't know. We have a debit card, but I never use it.
I use it very rarely as well because we get points back on the credit card, so it just makes financial sense to use the credit card since we pay it off regularly. But I'm pretty certain most websites that take credit card also just naturally take debit card. Did he just not want to use his debit card on the site?
I don't know, because I do think like getting your debit card information stolen is slightly worse than getting your credit card information stolen.
Is it?
I don't know. Is it harder to dispute the charges? Because it comes directly out of your bank account.
I've luckily never had to dispute charges on either.
I had to on my credit card one time, shortly before we got married. It wasn't that big of a deal, though.
Another comment. Sis, no. This man is not ready to drive himself places. He is not ready to handle his finances. He is not ready for a relationship. Not the asshole for refusing him the credit card. He couldn't use his debit card. He doesn't know how to buy a prepaid Visa. Asshole to yourself if you keep putting up with this when there are roughly 725 million men in the world in their 20s.
Yeah, like there does seem to be a lot of ways he could have paid for his Comic-Con tickets and he just didn't want to, wants to take the easy way out and make it her problem and then blame her when it doesn't work out.
Oh, well, I just found OP has a update in the comment section.
Oh, okay, let me hear it.
More info. Sorry, the post had a 3K character max, so I had to shrink everything down. Here are some extra details. We wanted to go to Comic-Con together and talked about it. I bought my pass early because he was being wishy-washy, saying he wasn't 100% sure if it was worth going for just one actor. I wanted to go anyway to get merch and attend other panels. He knew I bought my ticket and was fine with it. He waited until the last minute to decide whether to go or not. I don't know why he couldn't just buy the pass with his debit. When I asked, he gave me some BS excuse that the con didn't accept debit as a form of payment or whatever.
Okay, I find that unlikely.
I also find it unlikely. Having said that, though, I've never bought a con pass, so it seems unlikely, though. I told him that made no sense, and he told me to drop it. Edit. Reminder that I bought a pass for myself. I didn't see this disclaimer, that's why I told him his excuse makes no sense. I'm aware that he lied to me. He said he didn't get why it was a big deal because he would have paid me back anyway.
No, it's a big deal because I don't want you to bother me every time you want to buy something with the credit card. Get your own.
On the day of the con, I went around buying merch and attending panels while he waited in line to get his pass. I didn't wait for him. I dropped him off at the subway, and when he was surprised that I still went to the con, he was expecting me to go home. He thought I would ditch the con because he wasn't there. Like, if I can't go, you shouldn't have gone either. I apologized for raising my voice. I didn't apologize for going to the con. I've been with him this long because we are childhood friends who reconnected in college. Our families get along, our friends get along, but this glaring issue might be bigger than I thought.
It definitely is bigger than you think, and you need to put your foot down or leave him. Because if he can't take responsibility for his own finances and driving himself places, what is it going to be like when you have kids? Or if you have kids, I guess. Maybe they're not planning on that. But still, what is your rest of your life going to look like with this man making you carry all the weight?
Yeah, it's also weird to be almost done with your driver's training and then just
quit
because your current girlfriend has a license. That seems odd. That's just, I don't understand his logic.
Yeah, and I'm sure he already paid for the full driver's training course, right? And then you just quit, and now if you want to do it again, you got to pay again? This is poor financial planning.
Someone replied to Opie's update. Yeah, he's broke. He's blowing all his money somehow and has you and his mommy fooled. I've never seen something say, debit is not an accepted form of payment for almost anything. It takes your money immediately rather than giving him until you make your card payment time. Or whenever he decides to pay you back. You look foolish. You're his personal taxi and credit card for no good reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. He might be broke.
I keep thinking about it, and the only places I've ever seen say they don't accept credit cards. Or they charge an extra fee for credit cards. They all take debit.
Yeah, I have seen some places that are like cash only, but not online when you're buying tickets online.
All right, and then OP does have one more update.
Okay.
Update in case anyone sees this. I broke up with him recently. It's been really awkward between our social circles, but it is what it is. Thanks everyone for your comments, support, helping me open up my eyes, and even the harsh words. I talked about it with some friends, and they said the same as most comments on here. I'm a little embarrassed it took me this long to end it, but love is a funny thing, lol.
I am glad that she broke up with him, because not only was he like using her for her credit card and her taxi service, but he lied to her. He was like, they wouldn't take my debit card. And she's like, that's weird. I don't believe you. And he's like, just drop it. That is not cool. That is not a good relationship. Just drop it and let me continue to blame you.
Just drop it sets a very specific tone in an argument, doesn't it?
I do wonder if now that they've broken up, he will go ahead and get his driver's license and a credit card, or will he just find some new girl and that can drive and has a credit card and use her like this?
Good luck getting a new girl if you can't get to the date. You can get away with that in college. It's a lot harder when you're 25.
Am I the asshole for telling my adult child that they can't have an expensive hobby?
I mean, I feel like I need to know a lot about your adult child's living situation, but you might be the asshole if you're telling an adult what they can and can't do.
For context, I, female 45, have 3 adult children, female 20, male 23, and non-binary 25, with my husband, male 46, who all live at home for various reasons. The issue I'm having is with my oldest, Poe. They have been living at home for over a year after having moved in with friends for a while, but the situation turned bad and they needed to come home. Just as with our other children, they are working. Part-time hours, since the place they work won't give them full-time hours, and we only charge them $100 a week for rent. The rent includes all utilities, food, personal supplies, and gas for the car.
That's a very fair amount of rent. It includes a lot of stuff.
Side note, the car is actually mine, but since neither my oldest or my youngest have a car, they share my car to get back and forth to work, with occasional help from my husband. The only other expenses they have are their portion of the cell phone service, they're under our account, their portion of the car insurance, student loan payments, and their splurges, meaning Spotify, which they split with our youngest, and a subscription to Xbox Gold, and another subscription to a PlayStation service. Here's my problem. They enjoy LARPing. LARP equals live action roleplay. Think of sort of live action Dungeons and Dragons. However, LARPing can get expensive, well over $100. They owe us approximately $350 in back rent due to us not charging them rent when they weren't working at one point. Now, I enjoy LARPing as well and plan on going to next month's event. They started talking about how they're looking forward to the event and how they'll just ride with us, plus everything they're planning on doing.
Okay, so Mom's a big nerd too.
Yup. Big family of nerds. This doesn't sit well with me since they owe us money and would be losing money from not working an entire weekend when they don't even work every day of the week. I want to tell them that they can't go for these reasons, but I know there will be a lot of backlash. Plus, they might end up going anyway since they have friends who are going and would give them a ride.
Sorry, so is the main cost of the LARPing getting there and some sort of ticket to get in? I'm not actually familiar with LARPing other than sometimes I drive past the park and I see a group of 20-somethings doing it there.
I'm not exactly sure, because I do think like it would take a lot of money to get your costume and everything and your equipment for LARPing all together, but once you have that, you can just reuse it over and over. So I'm thinking it must be driving and like a ticket price. It must be like a big event where there's a ticket, but she does not specify. And also, not only are they spending money, but they're losing money by not working.
Yeah, there is the aspect of them not being able to pick up a shift that weekend. In theory, they could trade with somebody they're working with for, a weekday shift, but I don't know their job situation, and they apparently do also owe Mom and Dad rent money.
We already have somewhat of a strained relationship in that they rarely talk to me unless it's about themselves. They tend to either shut down or explode at me if I say anything that comes across at all criticizing. I have told them that they can't go and that I will put restrictions on them, like not allowing them out of the house, even to see their friends, except for work and medical appointments. I've already banned them from using the car for anything other than those.
Okay. Grounding them might be a little extreme. I don't know if you still have the authority to ground them.
So am I the asshole for putting my foot down and saying they can't go and there would be repercussions if they do?
I mean, you're not the asshole for putting your foot down. I'm going to stick with that. I don't feel like you have the authority to ground them, but as their, landlord and food provider, I thought the repercussions were going to be like, we're going to stop paying your gas. Or something like, hey, we're going to have to charge you more rent if you're going to be spending your money on this dumb thing. Not, you can't go see your friends at 25.
But they're already not paying the rent that they owe. So is increasing the rent and stuff going to actually work?
That's why I was like, I don't know exactly what it should be, but like take them off your cell phone bill. But you want them to have their cell phone, but something similar to that.
I was like, I do feel like you cannot ground a 25-year-old. They're living with you and paying you rent, even if it is a small nominal amount of rent. They're an adult and they're paying rent. You can't ground them.
Yeah, but also if they owe you money, they probably shouldn't be blowing their money on a weekend trip. Having said that, I thought she was going to list a far more expensive hobby than like a $100 LARPing session.
Because there are a lot of expensive nerdy hobbies out there, right?
I thought she was going to be like, he's painting Warhammer figures or something, where like $100 is like the base cost of one figure.
Top comment, you're the asshole. They might be under your roof, but you absolutely cannot prevent them from leaving the fucking house. They're an adult, and some things you simply don't have a say in, whether they live with you or not. That's controlling as hell. Want to ban them from using your car? Fine. Don't want to take them to your LARP thing? Cool. You can't keep them locked up in your house, though. You were mostly reasonable up until this point. Either stop them from using your car or give them X days to pay you back on rent, or they need to live somewhere else.
I think I completely agree with that comment. You can't ground them. You're the asshole if you decide to ground a 25-year-old. You absolutely can put reasonable adult restrictions on them. Like saying, hey, you might have to find another living situation if you're going to keep spending your money on unimportant things. But no, you're the asshole if you're going to ground them.
You're the asshole. Come on now. Expecting your adult child to pay back the money they owe you is perfectly reasonable. You should formalize a payment schedule agreement with them and stick to it. wanting to teach your adult child to be more financially responsible so that they can get out of debt and eventually start building their own wealth and living independently of you and your husband is also perfectly reasonable. However, they might be your child, but they are no longer in fact a child, and treating them like one is a great way to permanently ruin your relationship with them. You cannot ground a 25-year-old, and it's ridiculous that you even think this is an option. No wonder your relationship is strained.
Yeah, that would absolutely strain a relationship, wouldn't it? And I gotta say, I feel like your kid doesn't actually owe you a ton of money. It's $350. It's not a small amount.
That's like 1 month's rent. A little less. So they're less than 1 month behind on rent.
And it's such a small rent. It's like a token rent that they're being charged because that also covers food and gas and usage of the car.
Yeah, they're really getting a lot for their money.
Yeah, the kids have it good. I'm not saying they don't. I just feel like it's hard to comment on how hard it is for them to return the money because I don't know like how many hours a week they're picking up at their job. It just feels like you need to set up a payment plan like that person said and just say like, hey, an extra $40 a week or whatever. Because OP did seem extremely reasonable up until that end, didn't she?
She did. I was like, yeah, that makes sense that you would be a little upset that your child is like, I'm going to go blow a bunch of money on this weekend event when they owe me money. I'm like, no, you got to pay me back first.
And they just assumed that they could carpool with you there, which, to be fair, I guess if I was going to the same event as my parents, I would assume that I can carpool with them. But I'm not like behind on any payment schedule to my parents.
Someone else thinks everyone sucks here. Frankly, they seem a little spoiled and are taking advantage of the generosity that you've shown them. $100 a week is practically nothing for rent, and they aren't even keeping up with that. You're being nice, but by doing so, you are just enabling them to be irresponsible and essentially act like children. Personally, I wouldn't even talk about the LARP event or what they can or can't do. Because they're adults, they can make those decisions. I would just tell them that in the real world, if you are behind on your rent, you get evicted. And if they don't get their shit together and pay their bills, they need to move out. Time for them to get a taste of reality. They are adults, time to grow up, and that includes dealing with their finances.
Yeah, you know what? I really like an everyone sucks here. I was just so taken aback by the fact that she was trying to ground them that I didn't really think about what they were up to.
Yeah, and what they're doing isn't great either.
No, it's not. Like, just tell your parents you're going to pay them back an extra, like, $30 a week. $30 a week is very achievable. You'll have your parents paid back in, like, 3 months, and then mom really can't nag you about anything other than, you know, the fact that you are still on their insurance and phone plan and things. But she at least can't nag you about the $350 you owe her.
Someone else says, you're the asshole. When I stayed with family, they didn't dream of charging me. Are y'all broke? I can't fathom nickel and diming my kids. I disagree with that.
I was going to say, I also disagree with that. Like,
you don't want your kids living at home forever, so you can't make it too easy for them. You want them to get out there and be financially independent and spread their wings and get out on their own.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, OP is not charging them. She's hardly charging them anything for rent and food.
Yeah.
My parents didn't charge me rent when I moved back in after college.
Mine did.
Yeah, I know they did. And I don't think charging your kids a nominal amount of rent to kind of give them, like, to ease them into the real world is a bad thing. Or just maybe OP needs that extra, you know, $400 a month because she does have 3 adults living with her. And that does add up. If OP could afford it and wasn't charging them rent, I would also say that's fine. They're still in their 20s. Sometimes it takes a minute to get on your feet.
Yeah, I was unemployed for like a whole summer after I graduated from college, but I still paid my parents' rent. I was like living off of my savings. They didn't charge me a lot of rent. It was also $400 a month, but I was just living off my savings from my previous year's summer job. And then I was like, at some point I was like, dude, I'm running low on cash. I'm not going to be able to pay the rent. So I went out and I got a part-time job at Kohl's so I could pay my parents' rent.
I'm actually impressed that it only took you a summer to find a job.
Well, it was a part-time job at Kohl's.
Oh, that's true. So that is easier to get. You're right.
But then I did only work there for 4 months before I got a real job using my college degree. So, you know.
But like every family is different. Everyone's financial situation is different. And $400 is very generous. That is clearly an amount of rent that you charge your children when you actually like them.
I feel like it was a really good thing that my parents did charge me rent because I was way too comfortable being at home that summer unemployed and just reading books all day. If I didn't have to pay rent, I wouldn't have gotten out there and got a job.
You know what? Maybe I was a little too comfortable at home because I took a lot longer than 3 months. The thing that motivated me to get off my butt was I wanted to start dating again, and I didn't have any money to date. But we both got there in the end, and, like, I don't think that, like, the kids sound like hopeless cases or anything. They're working part-time. Maybe just have a conversation with them instead of grounding them.
Yeah, because we don't even really know if OP has discussed with her kids, like, hey, it's upsetting to me that you aren't paying back this rent and you're spending your money on other things when you owe me money. Like, I feel like that would be a good conversation to start with.
And you can't really expect them to give up all fun activities while they're living with you.
Yeah, I mean, you still got to have some leisure time.
Am I the asshole for selling my brother's Pokemon cards and refusing to pay him back?
Yes, you're the asshole. You can't sell someone else's Pokemon cards. That's not... First of all, that's illegal. That's stealing. But also, that's just rude.
My brother, male 22, and I, male 19, have always been avid Pokemon fans since childhood. Over a decade, we've probably amassed an estimated 1,000 cards. Recently, my brother began moving out of the house. In the process of helping him, I happened to stumble across his deck of Pokemon cards and began shuffling through them. Now, given the recent peaked interest around these cards, I knew there was potential for genuine value. While peeping around, I happened to stumble across a few recognizably rare cards in pretty good condition. I'd say about EX5, excellent condition, according to PSA standards. I got the cards appraised the next day, and their value was estimated at around $4.3 thousand altogether.
They're not your cards. You're wrong for even taking them to get appraised. I'm mad at this person.
I ended up selling them for a higher price through a private, organized sale with a collector. I eagerly told my brother about the earnings, but he became infuriated. He says I'm the asshole for refusing to give him the full value worth of the cards. I told him without me, they never would have even seen the light of day. I tried negotiating, giving him a cut of the profits, but he refused to even consider it. Now for the past few days, he's been sulking around the house, refusing to even acknowledge my presence. It's bad timing. My brother is leaving in a few days, and I don't want to end on bad terms with him. So, am I the asshole?
100% the asshole. You can't steal someone else's stuff, sell it, and then be like, well, if it wasn't for me, there'd be no money. First of all, what if he didn't want to sell them and wanted to keep those cards? But it sounds like he didn't. He just wants the money. You're very lucky in that point. But also, this is his money. They were his cards. You sold his stuff. Now, if you had agreed on it beforehand, maybe you should get a small percentage for doing the work of getting them appraised and, getting them sold. But it's not your property.
Yeah, it's hard to negotiate like a finder's fee when you just did everything unilaterally. And also, I'm not actually sure if brother would rather have the cards or not. Maybe just the fact that they were already converted to cash. He's like, well, I can't have the cards. I want the cash.
Yeah, and it rightfully belongs to him. He should take you to small claims court. Can he file a police report against you for stealing your cards? I think at that point, once it's over $1,000 worth of stuff being stolen, isn't it a felony?
I think in most states, yeah.
OP sucks here. Give your brother the money. First of all, you shouldn't have sold the cards. But now that you haven't, it's too late. Give your brother the money. Also, what did he think was going to happen? He'd tell his brother, hey, I sold your stuff. And brother would be like, good for you. Good initiative. I'm glad you got some money for my stuff.
Top comment. You're the asshole and a criminal. All of the money is his. What you're doing is theft.
Exactly.
And I'm going to say now, every single Reddit comment is going to call this theft.
Because it is. I mean, it is blatantly theft.
Yeah, you can't just sell stuff you find laying around in your sibling's room.
Why would he even think that he could? I do not understand his thought process.
You do generally be like, hey, I found our old Pokemon card collection. Should we get it appraised?
Did you know that some of these are worth a lot of money?
Let's split the profits 50-50 because it's our Pokemon card collection. I know that this is his brother's deck, which makes me think that that deck is entirely brother's. But if you worded it right? Like be like, hey, I found our old collection. Let's sell it in half and go halfsies.
Yeah. But that's something you need to agree on beforehand.
Yeah, definitely before you have $4,000 in hand.
And he did say, I thought about splitting some of the profit with him after the fact. What do you want to bet it was not even a 50-50 split? Because he's like, but I did all the work.
OP does have a small edit to add some key details.
Okay.
Me and my brother are extremely close. It is likely that those cards are both a combination of mine and his. I only request a cut of the payment as I'm the one who put in the effort to find the cards and appraise them. I feel like it is important to point out that he only requested a cut of the payment after he got yelled at.
Yes, and even if these are both of your cards, you both need to agree to sell them, or one of you needs to buy the other one out and keep them. You cannot just unilaterally decide to sell joint property.
Another comment, you're the asshole. You can't sell other people's belongings, especially without their consent, making a profit and not giving them the money for their stuff. Either you give him the full money, get the cards back, or you accept being an asshole having messed up the relationship with your brother because you're a thief.
Yeah, even if now he reads these comments and agrees to pay his brother back the $4,300 that he got, if I was the brother, I would still be mad at you for all eternity.
Yeah, I know $4,000 is a lot of money. It's a very small amount of money to destroy your relationship with your sibling over.
Yeah, but if I was the brother, I would always remember that he tried to take the full amount of money and not give me anything. So even if he did eventually do the right thing and give me some of the money or all of the money, which would be better, I would still be like, he's not a good person. He tried to, scam me out of a bunch of money. And I would remember that forever.
Yeah, you have kind of forever set the tone of the way your brother is going to think about you.
Hey, Josh, why are there so many Pokemon packs in here? Like, way more than we need for this episode.
I don't think we need to ask that question, Kristie. Another comment. You're the asshole. So much that this is one of the easiest votes I've ever seen. You sold his cards. His. Without telling him or asking him. Now he's out his cards and all the money. Forum rules prevent me from telling you what I really think, to be honest. Magic the Gathering collector here, and if that happened, I'd be furious. I've lost part of a collection and that hurt. Then to have a family member sell it without giving me the money? If he offers you money, you'd be greedy to want anything over 10%. That's a standard finder's fee, and you did this without asking. Somebody replied to that, he doesn't even deserve a finder's fee. He didn't find anything. He stole it and now wants to keep the money. That's like someone stealing your car and selling it, and then telling you with the expectation that you'll be happy and not want the money.
I feel like just because it's Pokemon cards, he's like, well, you weren't using it anyways, but it is still his property. This is like stealing a car and selling it and being like, I made a bunch of money from selling your car.
Yeah, maybe brother was nostalgic for this deck. Maybe brother was saving the cards to sell at a later date. Maybe brother honestly forgot about the cards. It's still his deck. I feel like I would have a very different opinion if OP even said, I found me and my brother's old Pokemon card collection, and I sold the collection. No, he specifically called it his brother's deck. And even then, brother still gets 50% if it's a joint collection. And a vote in what you do with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, he doesn't just get 50%. He gets an equal say in what happens to those cards.
All right, and then OP does have an update.
Okay.
I understand the idea of theft. However, I do not believe it to be applicable here. My brother and I are close. Most of the items he has share mutual ownership with me. This situation, however, has blown completely out of proportion. First, my brother accepted a very large cut of the profits, but then completely backtracked on it a few hours later. My mother has just advised my brother to accept his generous share of the profits from the cards. He refuses. He says he's going to take legal action, which is ridiculous. He was never angry at the fact that I sold the cards. He simply wants every single cent of the profits I made. I, for one, don't care about legal issues. I intend to pay bail with the money I amassed from the cards anyway. My mother has backed me in this regard.
Well, I don't know if you'll need to pay bail. I don't know if it's that serious, but...
Yeah, it's going to be a civil matter. I don't think you're going to get arrested over this. Probably. Just because you're family, right? Mm-hmm. I think the cops are going to show up and be like, can you guys not handle this internally?
At the very least, take it to civil court instead of criminal court.
If brother really forces the cops' hand, they might have to arrest OP, but Unless you're just insane when they turn up, a lot of times they're going to turn to your mom and be like, can you sort this out? They don't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
This is just completely doing my head in. I keep rationalizing that I deserve at least a small percentage of the profits, seeing as the cards and the money would have never even seen the light of day without me. I brought wealth to the family.
It wasn't your wealth to bring. His brothers. How can he not wrap his head around this? Even if we consider that it was brother's deck, but all the cards are jointly owned by them. So, okay, joint ownership. You can't sell something without the other joint owner's permission. You got to at least give them an option to buy you out first, right?
I would agree on that. It's 50-50 ownership at best for OP. So yeah, I would say step one is to be like, hey, I found our old Pokemon card collection. Should we try to sell it? Just get a verbal agreement out there before you find out how much they're worth, because people get way greedier when you start putting a number value on it.
Yeah, I just feel like OP is a dumbass. If you wanted to do this and keep all the money for yourself, you never tell your brother that you sold them, because it is half his. So you never tell him. And then later, years later, when he's looking through his Pokemon collection and it's like, hey, where are these cards? I don't know. If you're going to be a criminal, at least be sneaky about it.
Or just be like, I don't know. I sold my half of the collection, by the way. It just happens that my half was the good half. But don't have this discussion until you're in your 40s, OP. And then let's read one comment on the update.
Okay.
It wasn't your cards. You defined it as his in the post. You can't use money you illegally acquired for bail. That's stupid. You're admitting that you have committed a crime and just folding by saying you'll get out with money that shouldn't have been yours. Who cares if it was highly valued cards? It could have carried very sentimental value to him. The fact you're willing to destroy your relationship with your brother and paint you and your mom as the selfish, inconsiderate dickhead says a lot. $4,000 is a lot, but it's never going to be worth the trouble. That $4,000 is shit, because if you're that impulsive to selling your brother's cards, let's see how stupid you can get with $4,000.
Yeah, that money is not going to last him long. He does seem very impulsive.
I mean, $4,000 does not last as long as you'd think it would. And yeah, no one is on OP's side here. Just, you should have talked about it with him beforehand, and just the fact that you called it his deck, it's probably his money too.
Am I the asshole for feeding rabbit stew to my friends?
Did they not know they were eating rabbit stew before they started eating? In which case you might be the asshole, but I mean, it's kind of on them for not asking what they're eating.
My friends and I, mid-30s, like to have themed dinner parties. For example, we've had Spanish tapas potlucks, bought miracle fruit, the stuff that makes sour food taste sweet, and tried a bunch of things to see what they tasted like with the sour made sweet. A friend did Star Trek menu with plomeek soup, squash and beetroot soup, gog, sesame noodles, jambalaya, Romulan ale, and cellular peptide cake, peppermint cake.
Okay, you guys go all out.
Another friend did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe menu with toast a la tumnus, fried fish and boiled potatoes, and Turkish delight. Stuff like that. I recently decided to host a Lord of the Rings meal and emailed the invitation and menu to my friends. Lembas, crispy flatbread with homemade jams and mustards, meat pies, vegetarian savory pies, potato and mushroom, rabbit stew, entdraut, light spring vegetable soup, salad of foraged greens, berry tarts, beer, sweet cider, and milk, served buffet style.
How much free time do you all have?
I invited about a dozen adults and their kids. Some friends of mine's, some friends of friends, or partners of friends. About 20 people total. Everything was going well until one of the guests asked what the meat was in the rabbit stew.
Oh, hold on. The way he listed it earlier, I assumed that he sent out a menu and it said rabbit stew. Did he not tell anyone it was rabbit stew?
Well, he did, and now they're asking, what is this meat in the rabbit stew?
Oh. So they just didn't read the label, or they just assume rabbit stew doesn't have rabbit in it?
I think because like a lot of the other stuff like is labeled as like Limbus, and it's not really Limbus because Limbus doesn't exist. So, they just made crispy flatbread. So like, oh, they're just naming things like stuff from Lord of the Rings. What is it actually though?
Oh yeah, like those mythical creatures, rabbits. It's obviously not rabbits. That's like saying it's unicorn stew.
One of the guests asked what the meat was in the rabbit stew. I thought she was joking at first, but she was completely serious. So I said, well, it's rabbit. I live in an area where the lack of natural predators means that we have an overabundance of deer, rabbit, game birds, etc., such that hunting them is encouraged because otherwise they tend to starve in the winter for lack of sufficient food and or die of diseases due to overpopulation. I have a hunter friend who trades me meat from these animals for jams and jellies that I make. She freaked out, her daughter started crying, and then told the other children that they were eating bunnies. Apparently, they thought that by rabbit stew, I meant something like what I meant by lembus. I was using a fantasy term for something more normal. And I guess I can sort of see it, because while they're different, cooked rabbit isn't that different from dark meat poultry in a stew.
I don't understand that logic at all just because it's rabbit. It's not like it said jackalope stew.
I apologized for the miscommunication and for upsetting her and her daughter, but she was still livid and said that I was an asshole for serving rabbit under any circumstances. I again apologized for not being clearer that I really did indeed mean rabbits in the rabbit stew, but I wouldn't apologize for serving rabbit, especially as it was, in my opinion, more sustainably and humanely obtained than I bought the 12-pack of chicken thighs. She and a few other people think I'm the asshole, obviously. Mostly people whose kids were upset by the "she cooked a bunny" thing, though until it was framed to them that way, they seemed fine. Others think that I'm not exactly an asshole, and that I should have spelled out better in the invite/menu that the rabbit stew really was rabbit, and or for not just apologizing for serving rabbit in the first place. So, am I the asshole for serving rabbit?
What else could possibly be in the rabbit stew?
Well, it's just chicken stew, and you named it rabbit to be like huntery and fairy and woodsy and whimsical.
Do you think these parents are just dreading the day that their children find out that chicken the animal and chicken the finger are the same thing?
Probably. Okay, I have a really funny story. So, I was a picky eater.
Sorry, I object to you using past tense.
Okay. Okay, well, I was an extremely picky eater when I was very young. Like, there were 5 foods that I would eat until the age of, 6 or 7. That's it. I tried chicken one time and then refused to ever try it again. And my mom was like, you gotta try chicken, it's good. And I was like, no, chicken is disgusting. I will never eat chicken, never, ever. But one time at my grandma's, she's like, I'm making chicken for dinner. I was like, ew, yuck, I don't like chicken. And she's like, well, what about rabbit? Do you like rabbit? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, oh, it's really, really good. You should try some of this rabbit. It is amazing. So I took a little piece of it and I ate it and it was really good. And I was like, I love rabbit. Never made the connection in my 3 or 4 year old brain between rabbit and bunny, because my favorite stuffed animal was a bunny. If someone had told me I was eating bunny, that would not have been okay. But rabbit was delicious. I loved rabbit. Turns out, though, it was not actually rabbit. It was just chicken. And my grandma was tired of cooking an entirely separate dinner for me. So she was tricking me into eating the chicken by telling me it was something different.
That is the type of lesson that you learn from a grandma. I think my grandma taught me how to swallow pills because I could not swallow pills to save my life. And my parents would crush up the pill and put it in applesauce. It tasted disgusting that way.
And grandma's like, I'm not doing all that. Here, you're going to learn how to do this.
Yeah, she made me sit at the table with a pill and a can of Coke, and I had to figure out how to swallow a pill.
Well, anyways, that's the story of how my grandma tricked me into eating chicken for years by telling me it was rabbit. And in this case, I was upset when I eventually found out it was not, in fact, rabbit. So I'm the opposite of these people.
At the point where you discovered the deception, had you at least connected rabbit and bunny in your brain?
I don't remember because I was only 6 or 7. I was 3 when she started feeding me rabbit. I was 6 or 7 when I figured out it was chicken. I don't really remember it that well.
But I don't know. I don't think Opie's the asshole here. They clearly labeled it. What more could you have done? Rabbit. Yes. Really rabbit. Yes. Rabbit and bunny are the same thing.
I don't know. I do not think that I would have considered that some people might be upset by actually eating rabbit. Because I know it is a game animal. People do eat rabbit. I have never, but I would actually kind of like to.
Yeah, I know some people have qualms about different things. OP had vegetarian options there, and it sounds like all the people complaining weren't upset that it was, meat in the dish. They were upset that it was what it was labeled as.
I think they're upset it was bunnies.
Well,
they don't want to eat bunnies because bunnies are cute. But you know what? I think baby cows and baby chickens are super cute too.
Yeah, and I feel like that parent made a really rookie mistake by letting the kids know that it was rabbit, and rabbits and bunnies are the same thing. If they had some sort of, fragile illusion there, just obviously this was going to explode. It's not that weird of a thing to serve, is it? I know it's not like as common as chicken and beef and pork, but you can acquire this at a butcher if you know the right one.
Yeah, I feel like it's not that weird. What is she, like, if they have venison, is she going to be like, you're eating Bambi?
Apparently this person's entire moral compass on whether meat is okay to eat is the cuteness factor. But like you said, a lot of animals that we eat are very cute. I kind of think adult cows are cute, as long as you can't smell them.
I actually like the smell of cows.
So you like the farm, not city smell?
Yeah, I like the farm smell. It reminds me of going out to the country to my grandma's house because she had a cow pasture right behind her backyard. So when you can smell the cow pasture, that's when summer vacation really starts.
I think it depends on how fresh the cow pasture smells. The pasture smells a lot better than the barn. I'll give you that.
It does. But it still smells somewhat like the barn. It is definitely a cow poop smell. Well, let's jump into the comments. What kind of idiots hear rabbit stew and assume that rabbit isn't in there? I wonder if they know chicken soup has chicken in it. NTA, and this is coming from a rabbit owner.
Yeah, like, doesn't Sam call them something else? Conies or something?
Yeah, I think he does call them conies.
So OP didn't even use, like, a super Lord of the Rings or possibly British? I don't know where that word came from.
I think that's a type of British hair.
Is it?
I believe so, but I'm not positive, so nobody call me out on that.
Or just correct us in the comments, because we legitimately don't know. But didn't even use, like, a hard-to-understand term.
NTA, she was an asshole for scaring other kids and calling them bunnies to add to the outrage. What a major B word.
Was it the adult that then told all the kids?
The mother of a child asked what's in the rabbit stew, and she said rabbit. And then she's like, oh, you're eating bunnies. And then she told all the children, you're eating bunnies, everyone.
I thought it was her kid went and told all the other children.
Ooh, okay. That might be. From the way it's worded, it's hard to tell. She, the mother, freaked out, and her daughter started crying, and then told the other children that they were eating bunnies. So I guess other children. So yeah, it was the daughter that told the other kids they were eating bunnies.
But Mom needs more of a poker face because she started a big group tantrum of all the children as they discover that meat comes from animals, which is it's just a topic that we have to break to every single child out there.
At some point. You labeled it rabbit, and as far as I'm aware, rabbit is not an imaginary fantasy animal, so I'm going with the simple NTA.
I don't know what else you could have done. It's just wild to me that you would read a label and be like, they're probably lying on that label. There's no way this oatmeal contains oats.
NTA, what other meat would anyone have expected in rabbit stew? They had plenty of opportunity to ask before stuffing their faces if they were that concerned.
Yeah, you know what? It is wild to start eating the stew without knowing what's in it. Especially if you have objections to any type of food. Just if you're like, well, rabbit is a mythical being, so I should ask what's in the soup because he only has imaginary ingredients listed here. Maybe I'm too cautious. I like to have a rough idea of what I'm eating.
NTA, there's literally no difference between a rabbit or a turkey, and I bet they're fine eating turkeys. Turkeys are actually very sensitive and loving animals, and many people keep them as pets, just like rabbits. It never ceases to amaze me how people justify supporting factory farming, which is appalling and disgusting, by the way, but freak out over hunting, which involves far less suffering for the animal. Ignore them, they'll live.
Sorry. Did that comment start by the person saying there's no difference between a rabbit and a turkey?
I mean, morally, there should not be.
Oh, morally. Okay, I was like, there's a lot of difference between a rabbit and a turkey.
You can hunt both of them, and you can eat their meat, is what they're saying.
Okay,
But
sorry.
the problem is that turkeys are kind of hideous, whereas bunnies are very cute. And I think that's where the problem is, where people are not okay eating bunnies, but they are okay eating turkeys, because turkeys are ugly.
You don't like turkeys?
I actually love turkeys. But some people, I will admit that the red wobble they got is kind of ugly.
I guess I'm just not very picky when it comes to what an animal looks like, because I don't have a problem with most of them, I guess.
Yeah, that flappy red bit on their face, not attractive.
I think all the lady turkeys would disagree with you there.
But overall, Reddit says not the asshole, but your friend is a dumbass and an asshole for then upsetting all the kids.
Am I the asshole for telling my friend he could run a D&D game at my house and that I was excited to play? But upon finding out the twist he put on his D&D game, telling him I would not participate.
I mean, usually the game is up to like the DM, but you are hosting. I just really want to know what this twist is that is so offensive to you that you called the whole game off.
I'm an avid D&D player, and so is the friend in question. I told my friend he could host a D&D one-shot, a one-day D&D game, at my house, and that I was excited to play. He just told me his plan for the one-shot is for him, the DM, to play a guy, and for all the players to play a girl and try to win the guy's affections.
Oh, I am completely behind them not participating anymore.
It's a concept he apparently got from anime. I'm the only guy other than him. I told him that wasn't really D&D at all. There are no stat blocks, no spells, no combat, no life or death, do or die missions, no classes, no races, nothing that makes up the game of D&D. The only thing that makes it close is that it's technically an RPG. I told him that I no longer wanted to participate. I guess I'm the only one that doesn't. I essentially told him that's not the game I agreed to play, and that I really don't think it would be fun for me. I told him he can still host the game at my house if he wants, especially since he has no other house to host it at, but he's really upset with me because I changed my mind and won't participate and says it'll ruin everyone else's time. It should be noted that he's gay, so even though I think the game is pretty weird, he's not trying to play this just to get the girls in the group to hit on him.
Okay, because that was my first thought, is we're just helping him fulfill his fantasy of getting all the girls to fight over him by role-playing it. And I was like, that is gross.
I really don't feel like I'm the asshole, but I thought I'd get some more opinions on whether I'm right or should just suck it up.
I don't know. I still feel like that's misogynistic and gross, even though he's gay. I don't want a bunch of girls fighting over one single guy to be the whole point of the game. That's not fun. There's no fighting. I want to smash things when I'm playing D&D.
I think something's getting smashed in this game.
Oh no, Josh, no! Get your mind out of the gutter.
The top comment is very short. Not the asshole. That's straight up not D&D and doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah, also, it doesn't sound fun. I don't care that it's not D&D. That sounds boring. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I'm in D&D for.
You're in it for the fantasy, and you're in it for the violence.
Yes. I'm a barbarian. I want to... Well, I don't want to say I want to smash things anymore because you're going to turn it around on me. Stop doing the creepy eyebrows. They're not sexy.
Yeah, we play D&D with some of our family members, and it is not at all role-playing. It's just combat encounter, next combat encounter. You guys do not want to role-play at all.
Okay, we are all on the spectrum and find role-playing very awkward, okay? It's awkward and stressful and not fun. Let's just do the combat and use numbers. Numbers are fun. Let's add up all the numbers and see how much damage we're dealing.
Let's make the numbers bigger. That's the type of fun we want here.
More math!
Another comment, not the asshole. If he's gay and you're the only guy besides him in the group, that sounds like there may be other motives involved.
I don't know about that, but I would be more suspicious if you are the one who won the game and won the guy. And that would be suspicious to me.
Yeah, I mean, personally to me, it does sound like he was trying for a twist with a one-shot game. And if it doesn't go good, you only wasted one night. That's the one-shots is where you get experimental.
Yeah, that is true.
I think a lot of the comments are going to be along the lines of, this is creepy and weird.
Because it is creepy and weird.
Not the asshole. This is not D&D. This is creepy and weird. It's nice that you're letting them keep playing at your house, but I wouldn't participate in that either. Somebody replied to that, it's a little weird, but as long as all the other players are cool with it, it's not really creepy. As long as he isn't forcing anyone to play.
but he's trying to force OP to play. I think OP is very nice letting them use their house for this and letting everybody play there, even when they don't want to play, because it's creepy and weird.
I don't interpret it as he's trying to force OP to play. It's more like, personally, if I had a game concept and my friend was like, oh, I don't want to do that, I would be a little hurt. I mean, it's hard to guess the other person's opinion from OP describing it.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe then you just save this one-shot idea for another time when you're doing it at someone else's house.
I've played D&D for years. This is not D&D. It's super creepy, and I would run away screaming from that shit. I did once play a campaign where my character fell in love with an NPC, but it didn't feel weird because my husband was the DM. Plus, it was still full of combat and shit. We did have one session where I spent half the time preparing for our date, but my husband did put in a quest to get a magic cupcake for a pixie because that was the only way she'd make a pretty dress for me, lol. And I think that brings up another good point, is that, like, if you're going to put in heavy romance in your campaign, everyone's got to be on board.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Otherwise, it is awkward and creepy.
People going into D&D should expect some violence. But, like, if you're going to go extreme on any aspect, maybe just get the tables okay beforehand.
Yeah, I can see that, like, with gore and things. Yeah.
Another comment, not the asshole. What he did just seems gross. OP replied to that. I really kind of agree. That's why I was so surprised everyone in the group wanted to do it. At least according to him, I'm the only one that didn't. They're all pretty attractive people too, that I know reasonably well, and not people I would expect to want to play that kind of RPG. I can understand how it might lead to some funny moments and all that, but it's just really not for me.
Okay, so he only has his friend's word that everybody else wants to play this. I would maybe question that. Because if you got a group of people who like D&D and want to play D&D, this isn't D&D. I would expect more of them to be a little skeptical of it, at least.
Personally, if I've got a stable D&D group, and somebody's like, hey, I want to do a one-shot one session, I'm mostly up for whatever. I mean, it sounds weird, but I'll try it, and maybe I'll bounce if you take it in too weird of a direction. Maybe I'll say that up front. I'm like, that sounds weird.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, just putting that out there. And then what I think is interesting about this one is that OP then took that Am I the Asshole post and cross-posted over to RPG Horror Stories.
Okay.
And RPG Horror Stories, being more RPG themed, have a slightly different opinion on it.
Okay, what do they think?
Top comment, I think he is trying to run Made RPG, which is a pretty fun game. Doesn't mean you should participate if you don't want to.
What is Made RPG?
From Made RPG's homepage.
Okay.
You are a maid having worked dutifully for the Seonji family for several years. You are also a shy albino princess who does odd jobs for the Yakuza and train with the 3-section staff. Your peer, Maya, is an outgoing young maid with freckles, a streak of being greedy for sweets, and who also happens to be a military cyborg. Your master is a kind teenager who lives in the mansion alone, but is a bit of a train otaku. He is also a cursed werewolf, with amnesia.
This is getting complicated.
Somewhere between doing the laundry and preparing lunch, the master is kidnapped by evil ninjas. They escape through the basement of the mansion, which contains a portal to the netherworld. It's up to you to get him back before dinner time. All in a day's work for a maid. Maid is a light comedy anime-themed tabletop role-playing game for 3 or more players. The very easy-to-learn rules-light system, complete with random events which drive the story forward, will have you playing the game with friends only 15 minutes after opening the book. So I think all that stuff is randomly generated.
I don't know, that doesn't sound much like what he's trying to do. Because, like, he's trying to get all the girls to chase after him and vie for his attention. I do not think that sounds the same. It sounds like he wants to do a role-playing game of The Bachelor.
I don't know. It does seem to be an aspect of Maid where you do try to win the affections of the young master of the mansion or whatever you call him.
Okay, I'm concerned that he's a teenager, first of all. That's too young for all these maids to be vying for his attention.
I think the maids are also teenagers in this scenario.
This is all weird, okay? Why can't they be in their 20s? Come on.
No, have you ever seen an anime depiction of someone in their 20s?
They look old and haggard, don't they?
Old and grizzled, yeah. Another comment on RPG Horror Stories.
Okay.
Has he said he wanted to run D&D or that he wanted to run an RPG? It is important to differentiate between those two things. There is a lot more in the RPG space than just D&D, and what might be weird in D&D is not necessarily weird in other RPGs. Sadly, a lot of people use the two terms interchangeably, especially those who don't really have any experience outside of D&D, or who don't have any RPG experience at all. Because while what you described might be weird in D&D, it is basically the standard setup of the made RPG, which is pretty fun. That being said, you obviously don't have to play in games which you don't find fun. So, RPG horror stories they're very confident that this might just be a different RPG and not like a whole scheme.
Okay. So yeah, maybe this is just poor communication, but either way, this is not a game that OP is interested in playing in, so I don't feel like they should have to play it.
Yeah, which is why I don't know if jumping straight to it being creepy is fair, but yeah, OP, you don't have to do anything you don't want.
Am I the asshole for blowing up at my husband because he counted his work on our D&D game as one of his chores?
Ooh, as our group's DM, I have very strong opinions about how much time and effort I put in before we even sit down at that table. So, I don't know. I feel like if you're also sitting down at that table, maybe you could take on like one extra chore. Just because it is a lot of work.
I, 35 female, and my husband, 35 male, have been together for 10 years. Blissfully happy, no notes. A while ago, we got into Dungeons & Dragons. We have a weekly game that runs from 3 to 4 hours with 3 other friends. 5 of us have been going on adventures for the past few years, meeting consistently over Zoom. We've been having a great time overall. My husband is the DM, which means he does a lot of work preparing the sessions. This includes coming up with the characters we are going to have conversations with, figuring out the battles we are going to fight, and so on. I really appreciate his work. On the other hand, I've been feeling like I'm doing more chores in our partnership. I cook a lot, clean the kitchen, help with the laundry, do most of the driving. We tried splitting chores before, but there was a period where he would fold laundry or do cleaning while I cooked, but it didn't last beyond a week or 2. Normally, I don't particularly mind, but life has been especially shit lately due to health issues in the family, and I think it puts extra stress on us. So the other day, I cooked dinner. During dinner, he was giving me a sneak peek of the magical items he had made for the blacksmith in the new town, and I guess I didn't look as excited, so he asked me why. I said, "I'll be excited when you clean up the kitchen after we're done eating."
Okay, so it is starting to sound like maybe he's putting a little too much time into his preparation, and then he's wandering into the kitchen while you're trying to do chores and be like, "Look at this fun magic item I made up." I can see that being slightly infuriating.
Because you know what, at that point, writing a D&D campaign does sound like more fun than cooking dinner and doing the dishes.
It does, and it sounds like this is more than just like, I have to do all the dishes, and he splits everything else evenly. It sounds like this is not one chore.
This started a major argument, and we don't really have many of those, so it was a bit intense, about how I don't appreciate his work on the campaign. I countered by saying he's free to work on his hobbies as much as he wants, but it's not the same thing as helping me out with chores. To this, he countered that his work on this D&D campaign counts as a chore, just like cooking and cleaning. He said he provides a space for hangout with our friends every week. In a way, he's organizing and scheduling our social life, and that it takes a lot of work.
I have to disagree with a couple things there. One, Opie called it his hobby. Sounds like it's both of your hobby.
That is true.
2, a husband saying that it's him organizing their social life. It is that, but organizing your social life generally that's like a secondary thing to just keeping the house functional.
Right? Like it's not a mandatory chore for, making a livable space for us to live in.
Right. Like if they did these games in person and husband was sitting at the computer, prepping the D&D session, and wife was vacuuming the house so it's not a disaster when their friends arrive. That might be even. Husband sitting there coming up with fun magical items and probably browsing Reddit for ideas, while wife is, feeding the kids and buying groceries. Sounds like maybe wife is putting in more work.
I thought this was absolutely bonkers perspective. This is where things escalated because I was sort of befuddled. I still am. And he got really hurt. He did say, "The fact that you're asking this shows you don't understand how much work I put into this campaign." For the record, I did run a leg of the campaign as a DM for a few weeks, and it was a lot of work. but it was a hobby, at least to me. It was a fun thing I elected to do, not something I needed to do, like a chore. He pointed out that I don't need to cook either. We can afford to eat out every night and hire a cleaning service for sorting out the apartment.
Okay, that's not good financial logic right there.
He's not wrong. We can afford it, but it still felt weird. I eventually let it go, but I feel like I'm going to need some sort of resolution to this because I can feel the resentment bubbling in my chest. I don't want to win an argument. I'm not looking for vindication, but can someone give me an insight into this conflict? Am I wrong? Am I being the asshole here?
I don't think you're being the asshole, and eating out more often and hiring someone to come and clean your apartment, that's not how you save for your future. I mean, that's a tough one to be mad at him for saying because OP didn't even dispute it. Like, I expected OP's response to be like, but we need to save up money for retirement or something. And she's like, no, that's true. So I don't know, if you can afford to eat out and hire a cleaning service, why are you doing the dishes, lady?
Yeah, maybe do that, and that will stop building up resentment.
But at least in our situation, like, I guess we could technically afford to eat out more often and hire somebody to come in and clean the house. But that money's going to come out of other aspects of our lives.
Yeah, I do feel like trying to pay for that would put a strain on us, you know? It just doesn't seem like the best financial decision because we are capable of, like, doing the chores. So why would we pay someone to do it?
Right, like, it would give us more free time. But then we'd have less money in our emergency fund for the next time Odin needs to go to the vet because he did something stupid.
That is a very important fund, and we cannot drain that fund to keep our house clean.
Right, because we gotta take Odin to the vet because his eye is swollen shut and he's only got one left. And we assume he started a fight with one of the other pets because it's always him that starts the fight.
He had it coming. He definitely had it coming.
He absolutely had it coming. My wallet didn't have it coming, and it cost $2,000. And the solution was just, here's some antibiotics. It'll go down on its own.
Okay, it wasn't $2,000, but it was a lot.
Okay, yeah, $2,000 is, I think, a different vet bill that I'm complaining about.
Yes.
But I think that it does sound like maybe OP's husband is spending a bit too much time and effort on the campaigns. Like, he could be using, there's resources out there where a lot of things are already made for you. You can go and buy a bunch of pre-made magic items. You don't need to make up magic items and balance them properly. You can go and buy a campaign that's already written down in a book for you.
Okay. I feel like I have perspective on this, being as I'm also married to our DM. And I do get that it is a lot of work for you, but I also feel like coming up with campaign ideas for the D&D session is not as much of a chore as doing the dishes and cooking and vacuuming and cleaning the bathroom and all that stuff. It is still a chore, but it is an easier, fun chore. So I always feel like I count it as like half a chore. So you spend 2 hours working on our D&D campaign, I will try and pick up an extra hour of chores.
I mean, I think that sounds fair to weigh the D&D prep lighter than other chores. Like, he can't just bow out of everything else that keeps a household running just because he's prepping for, that fun night you have once a week. You still got 6 other days a week that you need to live through. You need to have clothing to wear.
But I feel like how miserable a chore is should be weighed into it when you are dividing the chores and dividing the time you each spend on chores. Like, I groom the dogs, but that's not as terrible to me as vacuuming or cooking. So I'm more than happy to groom the dogs and you do more of the cooking, even if it takes less time or whatever that day.
And I am the opposite because I have no patience for grooming any of the pets. If it was up to me, they would all have buzz cuts.
No, they'd be so ugly.
Even the ones that don't need regular grooming. Odin gets a buzz cut.
No, he'll hate it. He would look so funny because he's fat. Yeah. Then his fur wouldn't hide his fat rolls anymore.
You're right. You wouldn't just look at him and be like, wow, what a fluffy, magnificent beast. Just jelly rolls. People are going to call us out for being too mean to Odin again. It's just that he's the one that's in the room when we're talking.
He's right there.
The other pets all cost us plenty of money, too.
Okay, but even my take where like D&D campaign planning counts as like half a chore, Reddit does not agree with that. They think it is not a chore at all. Top comment, hobby time is hobby time and not chore time. NTA, I DM'd for 5 years and it is a lot of prep work, but that's hobby time. That took away from time spent painting minis or reading or other games. It did not prevent me from cleaning, cooking, etc. Laundry still has to get done. His argument is laughable.
My only argument against that one is that OP also plays in this campaign. So it is a mutually beneficial thing that he's like spending this prep time on.
People don't agree with you. Your husband is being ludicrous and trying to avoid his fair share. Having run games for nearly 40 years, I've never once considered it a household chore. Yes, it requires time and effort, but it's a labor of love for a hobby that I am invested in. It's not the same as washing dishes, mopping floors, or scrubbing toilets, which needs to be done to maintain a household. Does OP have any hobbies? Start treating them like hubby treats D&D and see how he reacts. Not the asshole.
Did that person even read the post? OP's hobby is D&D. If you worded it more for the normies. Like, I sat down and planned our trip to Disney World. But it took me, like 8 hours to plan our trip properly, get hotels booked and things. I feel like that's a chore.
Yeah.
Because it is beneficial to the family.
That is true.
So this sounds like it is beneficial to the family. I don't know if they have kids or not, but it's at least beneficial to their couple. So I think it does deserve a little bit of weight, but not full weight. It is not a full weighted chore. OP's husband should just do what I do and not do any prep work until the night before we have our campaign scheduled, and then do everything and not get any sleep and do a bad job role-playing the whole campaign.
Just panic writing out what we're going to do.
Right. And then it turns out that the people you play with don't actually care about the role-playing part, and they just want to see do big number damage with their fireball. So all the parts that you spent a bunch of time on don't matter. You're going to have a magical mirror float off the wall and start to reveal the boss of the entire campaign and what she's up to at this exact moment. And the stupid barbarian is going to be like, I don't understand what this is. I'm going to smash it on the ground.
I did that. I'm very sorry. I got yelled at on the car ride home that I ruined the campaign. Not ruined it, but I messed up.
You made it so that that nobody knows that lore now. I guess still got to figure out a way to put that lore naturally into the campaign.
Okay, but one of the mirrors previously, someone touched it and it started shooting glass shards at them. And so a mirror was coming towards us and I was like, I gotta protect my party. It's gonna shoot glass shards at us, and I smashed it.
I feel like it shot glass shards because you guys did something stupid to that one too.
Yeah, that's probably true. We're kind of stupid.
None of the mirrors were supposed to shoot shards. I think unless you did something magical to them. Like, I think that the warlock shot it with a fireball or something.
It was an eldritch blast. Thank you very much.
So, I'm just saying, I don't know what I'm saying. I went off on a tangent. I don't remember the comment anymore. I just got mad that you guys smashed all my lore devices. What are we talking about?
Wife is also benefiting from her husband writing the campaign. She gets to enjoy it. It counts as at least a little bit of chore.
Right. That.
NTA, but seriously, why not hire a cleaning service if you can afford it? Free up time for both of you to spend on hobbies. Someone replied, yeah, I'm not sure why everyone is glazing over this. If they can afford a cleaner, this might be the real solution to the problem, especially if he's willing to pay the cleaner out of his discretionary funds. Okay, I kind of disagree with that. I think that should be both of their funds.
Yeah, I agree. It's freeing up time for both of them.
The comment continues, I think D&D is a hobby, but since she plays and it's both of their main source of social entertainment, I would say it's probably more important to maintain than the money saved by not having a cleaner. Social lives are important.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that comment a lot. Like, it is important to have a social life. You can't just work all day, every day. Like, you need to have some relaxation. It sounds like they do share a relaxation activity, which is D&D with friends. And just the fact that OP didn't push back at all on that cleaner comment that husband made. Mm-hmm. Maybe they should have a cleaner if they can afford it.
But I can also see husband taking advantage of the fact that D&D planning counts as a chore and he spends way too much time on it and she's stuck doing all the chores. I think there needs to be like a set limit of time that he has per week to plan the D&D campaign.
I think that husband is absolutely taking advantage of him considering it a chore, right? I agree on that. I think that he's probably spending too much time on it or not helping enough on chores, and he needs to cut out that extra planning time somewhere else in his life, like sleep, something unimportant.
Like you do.
Yeah, or like just put out a few YouTube episodes late.
Nobody cares if they're late, right? Right?
Right. I've never gotten yelled at once for that.
All right, that's our last story for this episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you nerds next time. Do you want to tack on 2 extra pack openings just for fun on the end of the video, Kristie?
Sure, let's do it.
Do you not enjoy this as much as me?
I guess not. I mean, I know your TikTok is just completely full of card opening packs, but yeah, I never really get that kind of content on mine.
I think this is going to resonate like super well with like 5% of our audience.
You said that last time, and a lot of people like that Star Wars episode.
Do you know why I keep saying that?
Why?
5% of our audience is men.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to love me opening a Ninja Turtles magic pack.
Yeah, I could see guys liking that.
Are we going to do an Avatar one?
Should I do an Avatar one? I do like Avatar. How do I open this one?
I think just rip into it.
No, I can't rip the packaging, Josh.
Why? It's cardboard. I mean, I guess the stuff inside is cardboard too. I'm not saving that, Kristie. It's trash.
Okay. Ooh.
I don't know. Let's see if you can get anything better than a full art Bulbasaur. I think that's the highlight of this episode. Not the stories, the Bulbasaur.
Yeah, the Bulbasaur is the best thing that happened today. It's so pretty.
Oh, you got Appa.
Oh, yeah, I love Appa. There's a lot of cards in this pack.
Yeah, I think there must be more cards in the magic packs. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
I love the mongoose lizard.